You want to talk about books? Let's talk about books. Welcome, book nerds. I'm Mr. Salerno, Great Valley librarian, and here today with you to do some book talks. Because I forgot my wireless headphones today, so I'm kind of leashed in here. I'm going to apologize in advance for all of this that is likely to happen as I speak, and all of this. For our book talk today, I chose 3 sets of books. That's some popular books from not so long ago and pretty recently ago, and their sequels, which have either just come out or are going to come out very soon. Now, because we're talking about sequels today, there are some spoilers ahead. So I'll give you a warning whenever one of those spoilers is about to come up, so you can, earmuffs if you don't want to be spoiled. The first set of books I want to talk about today is The One and Only Ivan and its sequel, The One and Only Bob. The One and Only Ivan came out about 10 years ago, written by Catherine Applegate, actually won the Newbery Award the year that it came out. And it's about this gorilla named Ivan who lives in a zoo at the mall, which sounds really cool, especially because there are other animals at the mall and they put on shows every day. It's kind of like having a circus in the mall, which again, sounds cool. But as you read, you learn that the conditions that they live in aren't so pleasant. One day, a new baby elephant is delivered to the mall, and Stella, who's the elephant that's been there just as long as Ivan has, decides to take care of her. And what eventually happens is that Ivan becomes determined to find a better home for himself, for Ruby, and all the animals that live in the zoo. The story is told from the perspective of Ivan, so it's a cool narrator's voice you've got going on there. And it's a really, really great story. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend that one. But it's been out for a while, so a lot of you might have already read it. Or you may have watched the movie on Disney Plus that came out at the end of August. A little bit different from the book, though. So if you've already seen the movie, give the book a read anyway. The sequel to Ivan, which is called The One and Only Bob, came out at the end of May 2020. And Bob is a stray dog that lives at the mall with Ivan, with Ruby, with Stella, and spoiler alert. So this story takes place after Ivan and Stella have found a new home in a much better zoo. It's not in a mall, and it focuses on Bob as the main character. If you like stories about animals, and if you like The One and Only Ivan, you've got to check out The One and Only Bob. It's also one of those books that's written kind of poetry style, so it has really short chapters that makes you feel like you're getting through it really quickly. The next pair of books is Front Desk and 3 Keys, both written by Kelly Yang. Front Desk came out in 2018. It won the 2019 Asian Pacific American Award for Literature, and with good reason. This is an amazing story, one of my most recommended books. Mia Tang is the daughter of 2 Chinese immigrants, and they're having trouble making ends meet, having trouble finding work. So they really think they find some luck when they meet a man named Mr. Yao, who is also Chinese, who owns a motel. A motel is a hotel, but all the doors are on the outside. Now they think this is going to be a really great situation for them, but they quickly learn that Mr. Yao is just as dishonest as he is unkind. He actually plans to pay Mia's parents 1 salary split between 2 people. So the only way for them to get the work done that they need to is for Mia to start working at the front desk of the hotel, checking in guests and things like that. Mia and her parents start to turn the hotel into a safe place for immigrants to stay as they travel to wherever it is they're going. Along the way, Mia meets a lot of really great people, including the Weeklies, who are the people who actually live at the motel with her. One of the most interesting things about Front Desk is that it's based on the author's real-life experience of living at the motel where her parents worked at. The sequel, 3 Keys, which publishes in the middle of September, takes place, spoiler alert, 3 Keys takes place after Mia and her family and a bunch of investors have bought the Cala Vista Motel. And Mia's really excited about 6th grade, except her new teacher doesn't think she's as good of a writer as her previous teacher did, which is crushing for her because she spent so much of that first book learning to become a great writer. And there's also a new immigration law that's about to be passed, which would make it really hard for immigrant kids to be able to stay in school. So Mia and her friends are all really worried about that. And not to mention the investors are also upset because the Calavista isn't making as much money as it once was. If you read Front Desk, if you liked Front Desk, you have to read Three Keys. Now, I have to admit, the first time I read Three Keys over the summer, there were just some really hurtful things that were happening in the story where I said, people aren't really this mean, or this would never really happen. But then I finished reading and read the author's note in the back of the book where Kelly Yang says that all of these events were based on real things and real laws that have actually been passed in the past. So again, just like in Front Desk, where she bases the story off of her own experience, she bases Mia's experience in book 2 off of real historical events, and it makes it just that much more interesting. The final set of books I want to talk about are a pair of graphic novels. Yes, parents, graphic novels count as reading. They're by Jerry Craft. The first is New Kid, which won the Newbery, first graphic novel to ever win the Newbery, and the Coretta Scott King Award last year. And its sequel, which comes out in mid-October, is called Class Act. Let's talk about New Kid first. New Kid is about a kid named Jordan who goes to a really fancy schmancy private school. And he notices pretty quickly that he's one of the few kids of color who goes to that school. Most of the other kids are white, and Jordan is mixed race. So the kids that go to his school, there's things about his culture and about his neighborhood and about his life that the other kids at his school either don't know about or think they know about and are wrong. So Jordan is kind of pulled between the world that he lives in and the school that he now goes to, because they're both kind of different. So it's about him trying to balance those two things, on top of wanting to be an artist and go to art school. So the story itself is filled with Jordan's own sketches and comics and things like that. Really, really great graphic novel, The New Kid. The sequel to New Kid is called Class Act. This focuses on one of Jordan's friends from New Kid. His name is Drew. And Drew's grandmother kind of sets the stage for this story by telling him that you have to work twice as hard to be just as good. Because Drew, like Jordan, is one of the few kids of color at his school. So Drew does just that. He's a hard worker. He gets good grades. He's a popular kid. But he kind of resents some of the other kids at his school who seem to be offered more opportunities than he is just because of the color of their skin. Now, to complicate things, one of those kids is Liam, a mutual friend that both Drew and Jordan have. So as Drew starts to look at the opportunities he gets versus the opportunities that some of his white classmates get, including Liam, he starts to struggle with that. At the same time, balancing his friendship with Liam and his friendship with Jordan. Another one that's just as good as the original. I got a chance to read Class Act over the summer, and I really liked it. So if you liked New Kid, if you like graphic novels like Raina Telgemeier's Smile, drama, things like that, definitely check out Class Act. All right, book nerds, that's all I've got for you today. 6 really great titles. I highly recommend all 6 of them. But if you have any suggestions or if you want me to book talk anything in particular, send me an email or message me on Teams and I can include some of your suggestions in the next round of book talks. Or log into Flipgrid and do some book talks of your own. There's already some in there from some fellow Great Valley students. See you next time.